The U.S. Coast Guard is reportedly using boats as floating prisons to combat the war on drugs, it has been revealed. The U.S. is deploying ships across the Pacific Ocean to stop the flow of cocaine from South and Central America by using cutter ships, or commissioned vessels, to hold suspected smugglers caught at sea. New York Times reporter Seth Freed Wessler, who has covered this issue, told Public Radio international drug smugglers are taken on board the U.S. vessels and are sometimes chained to the deck before being shipped back to the U.S. for trial. Wessler said the suspects can be on board for weeks waiting for this to happen, and the Coast Guard is allowed to do this because the smugglers aren't technically under arrest until they reach the U.S. mainland. According to him, the U.S. Coast Guard has deployed deep into the Pacific Ocean to stop the flow of drug smugglers between South America, Colombia, Ecuador, and Central America, where the drugs are dropped off and then often moved up through Mexico. The smugglers are held on average for 18 days, but Wessler mentioned one suspect who was held for 70 due to delays in processing. Those who are moved are taken to port and arrested before being processed in courts in Florida. Wessler also said U.S. President Donald Trump's Chief of Staff General John Kelly has played a key role in expanding the use of the Coast Guard for this purpose. He's called drug smuggling in Central America an existential threat to the United States, he said. While some of the drugs are heading to the U.S., Wessler also points out some is also headed to Europe and also Australia, which means they can't prosecute unless they can prove that the drugs were headed to the United States, and that's one of the reasons why federal prosecutors prefer to bring these cases to Florida, where that burden of proof is not required, he said. The U.S. Coast Guard has captured several recent seizures of drugs in recent months. In September, it seized more than 22,000 kgs of cocaine and heroin worth an estimated $679.3 million, $894 million, in San Diego, California since August. The Coast Guard cutter Stratton and a Navy ship off the coast of Central and South America made 25 separate seizures by members of the Coast Guard cutter Stratton and a Navy ship, CBS News reported. Acting U.S. Attorney Alana Robinson warned drug smugglers authorities were onto them, to drug traffickers who may think they are invisible in the middle of what seems to be a vast, empty ocean. You are not alone, she said. We are doing everything we can to prevent you from using the high seas as your personal freeway.